How to decline money requests without hurting relationships. At some point, most of us have experienced that awkward moment when a friend, family member, or colleague asks to borrow money. It can put you in a tough spot. You want to help, but you also know that lending money has the potential to strain relationships. So, how do emotionally intelligent people handle these situations? Here are a few strategies that will help you say no without damaging your relationships and might even make them stronger. Why lending money can be tricky. Money in relationships often acts as a double-edged sword. On one hand, lending money can sometimes strengthen bonds, especially if the borrower is responsible and returns the loan promptly. On the other hand, when repayment doesn't happen on time or doesn't happen at all, the lender may start to feel used, and the relationship begins to deteriorate. Behavioral economists have pointed out that money often tests the complexity of interpersonal relationships. It can quickly turn into a litmus test of trust and responsibility. When it goes wrong, borrowing money can cause resentment, even ruin friendships or family ties. Psychologists also emphasize that borrowers who fail to repay loans often damage more than their own financial reputation. They hurt the emotional bond shared with the lender. This emotional toll is why people with high emotional intelligence are cautious about lending money in the first place. How to politely decline a loan request. When someone asks you for money, your first instinct might be to ask, "How much?" However, this approach can put you in a tight spot, especially if the amount exceeds what you're comfortable lending. A better response is to ask, "Why do you need to borrow money?" By asking about the reason behind the request, you create space for yourself to assess the situation and make a more informed decision. This inquiry also shows that you care about the borrower's well-being without immediately committing to helping financially. Many times, once the borrower explains their situation, you'll have a clearer sense of whether or not lending is a wise choice. If the need is urgent and the request seems reasonable, consider lending a smaller, more manageable amount. This way, you help without putting your own financial stability at risk. The worse-off strategy. If you're looking for a way to turn down the request politely, consider the worse-off strategy. Instead of directly refusing, share your own financial struggles with the borrower. You might explain that you're dealing with high expenses, job difficulties, or family obligations that have made things tight for you as well. Research in psychology shows that people are more likely to let go of their own requests when they realize that the person they're asking for help is also struggling. By demonstrating that you're not in the best financial situation yourself, the borrower may reconsider their request without feeling rejected. For example, imagine a friend explaining their need for extra money. You can respond by saying, "I completely understand where you're coming from, but I've been dealing with some financial issues myself, and it's been tough keeping up with my bills." Here is a real-life example, a cautionary tale. One person shared his story of lending money to an old friend without fully understanding the reason. After a few drinks during a catch-up dinner, his friend asked to borrow $3,000, explaining that he was in a bind. Trusting their long-standing friendship, the man transferred the money without hesitation. Later, he discovered through mutual friends that his friend had a gambling problem and had lost everything, including his marriage. The worst part? The borrower blocked him on all platforms and cut off communication. This painful experience showed him the importance of verifying the reason before lending, even to close friends. The reciprocal emergency strategy. Another helpful tactic is to flip the script. When someone asks for money, consider expressing your own financial difficulties before they get the chance to explain. This reciprocal emergency strategy is an effective way to reduce the borrower's expectations while maintaining empathy. For instance, if a friend approaches you asking for help with wedding expenses, you could respond by saying, "I've been feeling the financial pinch myself recently. Just last month I had to borrow money to pay my utility bills." By doing this, you subtly convey that you are unable to help while also showing that you understand their situation. This often softens the blow of turning down a loan. Setting boundaries. At the end of the day, lending money is a personal choice, but it's important to set boundaries. People with high emotional intelligence understand their own limits and know that it's okay to say no. True friends will respect your decision, and those who don't may not have been worth keeping in your life anyway. In relationships, setting clear financial boundaries isn't just about protecting your wallet, it's about safeguarding the relationship itself. By maintaining these boundaries, you avoid the potential fallout of lending money that could lead to resentment and misunderstandings later on. Conclusion: lending money doesn't have to be a source of stress or conflict in relationships. By using these strategies, asking about the reason, sharing your own financial struggles, and setting firm boundaries, you can maintain healthy relationships without putting yourself in financial jeopardy. Next time someone asks you for a loan, remember that you don't have to feel obligated to say yes. With emotional intelligence, you can decline politely and even strengthen your relationships in the process.